This episode contains adult themes and is not appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, hello, the world. This is They Will Kill. We are a true crime podcast. I am Courtney Eck.
And I'm Sadie Eck.
And we're sisters, here to talk to you about horrible things like murder. Well, specifically, just murder. I'm sure we just wanted to start out by talking about this super awesome virus that's bearing down on all of us right now, that's at the top of all of your minds. Don't turn it off because I'm not going to scare you. I'm an eternal optimist. And, while we should be taking this thing very seriously, you should stay home as much as you can. Practice social distancing, wash your hands, clean your phone, etc., etc.
Hoard toilet paper.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I will do nothing for you except for But anyway, don't take all the toilet paper. Please learn to share. And during these hard times, I think it's very important to learn how to share. But I did want to start out by just saying a few positive things. I do, for better or for worse, believe that everything happens for a reason. I do think that this is happening for a reason. I think that, the economy, the environment, government, etc., there's some very serious lessons that need to be learned right now. Unfortunately, those lessons are going to be learned at the dear expense of a lot of people. But, I'm hoping that at the other end of this thing, we come out a better world. And in the meantime, please share, please help minimize the suffering of others. If you are able, if you have something that someone else doesn't have, please reach out to them and give them the opportunity to make it through this with as little impact as possible. We are going to be okay. We will get through this. This is just temporary. And in the meantime, Sadie and I will try to give you as much content as possible to keep you sane. Because we all know we're going to be leaning on our podcast extra hard for the next few months. So Sadie has 2 kids who are suddenly at home all the time. So we'll do the best we can to get some extra recordings out. But in the meantime, take care of each other. Please feel free to email us if you feel scared, if you need some crazy optimism despite the feelings that are the scary feelings inside. That's my specialty. Mm-hmm. And I can't say it enough. We are going to be okay. Just be smart, take this thing seriously, and we'll get through it.
Mm-hmm. I read something along the way here that was talking about how people with anxiety have been working towards this their whole lives, so it doesn't feel like that big of a deal.
That's such a good point. I have serious anxiety,
yeah,
and
so do I.
Yeah, I think most people do, and
yeah,
I think it's funny. It's sort of a relief. I've talked about this before on the podcast. It's like the horror is not the monster. Horror is the anticipation of the monster, and I think that we've all sort of been feeling this building for some time now. Well, basically since Trump was elected. So in some ways it's like a weird relief that it's finally here, because now we can focus on what to do. Mm-hmm. And I have seen a lot of beautiful things come out of this. The people singing in Italy during quarantine, people reaching out and helping each other, stores limiting hoarding. There's a lot of, I think for the most part, people are being their best selves right now. So
absolutely.
There's a lot ahead of us, but I think there's also a lot to look forward to. And when I feel scared, I just focus on, oh God, it's going to make me cry. I just focus on, the beauty in the world. Yeah. And why this is happening. So I know you're all like, "Go, we get it. It's fine. Don't touch each other."
Give me the sweet murder, please.
Yeah, give me that sweet, sweet murder I came here for. And we got a good one today. Before all this virus stuff was happening, I was thinking a lot about how to explain the fact that today's case is my quote-unquote favorite, because it's about Munchausen's by proxy, and it's a very strange thing to claim as your favorite kind of murder. because it's so fucked up. I mean, but it is fascinating. And I was talking to some friends about it. Like, how do I tell people that Munchausen's by proxy is my favorite? And I said, Sadie and I are going to do a story on Munchausen's. And my friend in the back of the car goes, "Oh, that's my favorite," before I could even say that. So I know I'm not alone. If you're feeling like extra giddy about Munchausen's by proxy, welcome, friends. You're in the right place. Yeah, this is a very rough story, but also extremely fascinating. So with all of that being said, take it away, Sadie.
Thanks. Yeah, I was, before I really got into the meat of the story, I was thinking sort of the same thing, like, ooh, this will be, quote, fun. Hey, guess what, guys? It was not fun to read about.
Fun reading this story, really kind of put me in a mood.
Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there so I don't say it over and over again. This one is around the death of a 5-year-old, and I am a mother of a 5-year-old, so you can just imagine that it hit me in all the right places.
Yeah. Super.
I was feeling really down all week, over the last 2 weeks, actually, and then I finished researching and writing the story, and I felt a lot better, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That was what was going on. But luckily, most cases of Munchausen's don't end in death. Oftentimes, the children do survive, which is nice. This one, unfortunately, the outcome isn't awesome at all.
No, it's
but
awful.
Most of the time, the children are able to be removed from the situation, and the abuse is stopped.
Yeah, we could probably all thank Gypsy Rose for bringing the munch to the forefront of people's awareness so that more interventions can happen and these poor kids can be separated from their mothers.
Right. So before we get into the case in particular that I'm going to cover today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Munchausen's in case there's people that live under rocks and don't know what it is or where it came from.
Yep.
So Munchausen syndrome was named after an 18th century German cavalry officer named Baron von Munchausen. He was a man who traveled widely and was known for his dramatic but untruthful stories. In 1951, Richard Asher described a pattern of self-abuse where individuals fabricated histories of illness. These fabrications most often led to complex medical interventions, hospitalizations, and needless surgery. He remembered Baron von Munchausen and his exaggerated tales, so Asher named this condition Munchausen syndrome. Munchausen syndrome by proxy was created by a pediatrician, Professor Roy Meadow, in 1977. And the difference here is that this refers to the child being made the subject of a made-up illness by the parent, usually the mother. They found that the parent with Munchausen syndrome by proxy was motivated by trying to gain attention from medical professionals, usually in particular, but friends and family as well. So they would create these false medical issues to gain attention.
So just to kind of recap, if you have Munchausen's, you make yourself sick or you pretend to be sick to get attention through medical care. And if you have Munchausen's by proxy, you make your child sick or your grandchild sick to get attention through their medical care.
Right.
Yeah.
Research has shown that Munchausen by proxy is most often carried out by women, specifically mothers. So the other interesting thing that's happened with Munchausen's is that as the internet became available and more popular, and social media in particular, they're finding that Munchausen's by proxy has shifted, where the parents aren't, or the mother isn't looking as much towards the hospital staff for attention, but they're really finding a lot of satisfaction by getting the attention from the people that follow them on social media. And the other thing for them is that they can change hospital, or doctors, and still bring their social media followers. So they're wondering if there's been a rise of Munchausen's because of social media.
Oh, no doubt.
And so as we get into the case that I'm going to cover, I usually start by talking about the victim, but this time I'm going to do it a little differently. We're going to talk about the mother of the victim first, and then we'll get into the details. I started to research this case. We're going to talk about Garnett and Lacey Spears today, and I found a really wonderful book that is called My Sweet Angel, and it was written by John Glatt. It was like over 400 pages long and really detailed. He did a lot of research and interviews with family and friends. And if I could have just sat and read the whole book to you, I would have. It's definitely, if you're interested in this case and knowing more, there's a lot of details that I just didn't have time to get in there. But even so, this is going to be a very long case, so we're going to do it in 2 parts. And hopefully we can get it out to you sooner than a week.
I got nothing but time, guys.
That's right. I'll just lock my kids in a bedroom.
Aw.
Oh,
She got Munchausen's doing reporting on Munchausen's.
Oh, no. Yeah, but before we get into the details, this case does cover, it is about a child, and it is not easy to listen to. So if you're particularly sensitive around cases against children, this might not be the best one to listen to.
Big time.
So I usually begin the cases by talking about the victims, but today I'm going to do it a little differently and talk about the mother of the victim first, because so much of the story depends on who she is and where she came from. It helps give you a better picture of why she would do these awful things to her child. So today we're going to talk about the murder of Garnett Spears. His mother was Lacey Elizabeth Spears. She was born October 16th, 1987, at the Castle Air Force Base in California. She was the youngest of 3 of her siblings. Soon after Elizabeth was born, the base where the family lived closed down, so they moved to Decatur, Alabama, to be closer to their extended family. Lacey's parents both suffered from chronic illness while Lacey was growing up. Her mother had type 1 diabetes, and her dad had celiac and Crohn's disease.
That's a lot.
As a child, Lacey loved playing with her dolls and could play house for hours. Her best friend in kindergarten, Mallory McWhorter, said, quote, "Lacey was very outgoing and fun. I remember in school playing dress up with dolls and playing house. Mallory wasn't allowed to go play at Lacey's house. Her mother had a funny feeling about the family and was scared to let her go there."
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. The one time Mallory persuaded her mother to allow her to go to Lacey's to play, it ended badly.
No.
They were playing house together. Mallory had picked up one of Lacey's dolls, and Lacey tried to strangle her.
What?
Yeah. She said, quote, "I was scared. It was a bad situation. Boom. She just put her hands around my neck."
Good God.
Yeah. When Mallory's mother came to pick her up, she was shocked to see bruising on Mallory's neck. Mallory told her mom that they were only playing, but her mom took it as, quote, "something's up with that family." She was never allowed to go back.
Yeah, that's good parenting. That's
Yeah.
a sound call.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, too, when you have that feeling
Yeah,
as parents to really listen to it.
absolutely.
As she grew up, Lacey was described as a good student and was popular with her classmates. They gave her the nickname Lacey Bug. As a teenager, Lacey became known as someone who would tell fanciful stories, which became increasingly far-fetched as time went on. Some examples is, she would tell people of being really badly injured one day, but then be fine the next. Examples of like broken legs and sprains and, that would magically heal.
Yep.
She also often would tell people she had anorexia, but would eat normally. The summer before she started high school, she told friends that she was pregnant. Then a few days later, she claimed that she had an abortion at the local hospital, but the hospital did not perform abortions.
Yeah, that's an important detail to suss out before you make that claim.
Yep. One of her middle school friends, named Jessica Kyle, remembers Lacey showing up at her house late one night. She was very upset and told Jessica's mother that she'd been molested by relatives and was too afraid to go home. Alabama Department of Human Resources was called, but there was no record of any investigation into the claims. Lacey's older sister, Rebecca Spears, maintains that she had no knowledge of Lacey ever being molested. Quote, "We had a happy childhood as far as I know. That's not true. I don't know why people would say that or think that."
Yeah, that's rough, man. That is a hard thing because you always want to believe the kid. You should always believe the kid, and then anyway, I'm not going to make a comment on that.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I think in most cases you always believe the victim of crimes like that. But
then you have this little sociopath in your house, and
right. And we're going to see too that this continues throughout her life.
Yeah.
Just making up stories that have no no evidence. There's no evidence of sexual assault or harassment, but it's definitely part of what she does.
Yeah.
In high school, Lacey got good grades and looked to her teachers for attention. She was not very popular with her classmates. Many of them thought of her as a suck-up. She was more concerned with her teachers' approval than her peers. So after graduating high school in 2005, Lacey moved into an apartment with her sister and got a job at a local daycare center. She impressed her coworkers with her boundless enthusiasm and energy. She would happily care for up to 5 babies at a time. She often worked 12-hour days, and it wasn't uncommon for her to volunteer to take a baby home with her if the parents had to work past daycare hours or on the weekends.
That is terrifying.
I know, and she wouldn't charge extra for the care either.
Oh, God.
Yeah. She would tell strangers while out with the babies that she'd care for on the side that they were hers, and she would post daily pictures of one baby in particular on her MySpace page, pretending to be his mother.
That gives me chills. It's so freaking creepy.
I know. On the baby's first birthday, she posted over 300 pictures of his birthday party. And when a friend commented on the pictures asking if Lacey was the baby's mom, she said yes.
Oh, God. And so nobody was, intervening at this point?
No. It was sort of just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was early internet still, very early social media, but yeah, that's a pretty big red flag.
Yeah. Lacey would also take the daycare babies to local church services. She would tell the church staff that she was the mother of these children and would receive items available for mothers in need.
Oh, no.
Many of the children she cared for would suffer chronic ear infections. One baby had 21 ear infections in 1 year.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And when they weren't being cared for Lacey, the infections would clear up and wouldn't return.
Oh, my God. I really hope I can't imagine that person doesn't have some sort of permanent hering loss as a result.
Yeah, 21 is
that's
about
insane.
two a month, which is just constant.
Oh, God.
Lacey would sometimes tell friends that she was engaged to a police officer named Blake, but friends found it odd that there were no pictures of Blake in her home or online where she was so active. In February 2008, Lacey started dating her downstairs neighbor, a man named Chris Hill. Mm-hmm. He described their relationship as more, quote, neighbor with benefits. He would try to get to know her, but she was mostly cold and distant. He said that she was more interested in children than anything else. She would show up at his apartment a few times a week. They would eat dinner together and then have sex. She never asked about using protection, and Chris says that they never really talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
In early March, 20-year-old Lacey became pregnant, and she was ecstatic.
I bet.
Chris and Lacey decided to get married, but Chris claimed it was clear right away that she didn't actually want him to be part of her life. She did things like picked the baby's name without his input, and then told him he wasn't the baby's father. Yeah, she said that the real dad was her old boyfriend, Blake.
It's remember in the 80s and 90s when everybody had a boyfriend from camp that lived in Canada?
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I had one or two of those.
I did in my mind. I don't think
I don't know if I actually... Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I think
I'm not that much
dreamed
of a
of meeting. Yeah, dreamed of meeting a boyfriend at camp, but then we never went to camp.
I know.
Well, I went once. It was an awful experience.
Yeah.
It was a Baptist church camp. Yeah, you guys gonna fill
really
in them?
Intense.
Yeah, we won't go down that road. We could do some kind of culty Baptist episode because we had a lot of experience with Pentecostal and Baptist church growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against Christian religion in general, but it can get pretty spooky.
Yeah.
So, quick
Aside.
back to the case. Yep.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think about when I hear about Blake. Of course, you've got a Blake.
Right.
Everybody had a Blake in the 80s and 90s.
Right. Mine's name would have been Jordan from New Kids
Oh,
on the Block.
yeah. She was Jordan. I was full Joey McIntyre. Still am a little bit, even though I'm a homosexual woman. His blue eyes still
so sweet.
make me feel some kind of way.
So Chris says that he was devastated and felt that she used him to get pregnant, but didn't want a father figure to be in the mix. She started to tell everyone that Blake was the baby's father.
Uh-huh.
So Lacey gave birth to Garnett, Paul, Thompson, Johnson, Spears.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry to laugh at that poor baby's name.
Yeah.
I know. How did I miss that when reading this case? Will you say it one more time?
Sure. Lacey gave birth to Garnett, Paul, Thompson, Johnson, Spears.
Oh, I love that name. If I had a kid, I would name him something crazy like that, like Jimmy J.J. Jones, Johnson, Thompson,
Spears. Yeah,
Spears.
Well, it made me think of just it's. Well, I'm not going to go into that.
What did it make you think of? We can cut it out.
Okay, I was just how young. It's a young thing. A young mom
Yes.
would just pick every name that she likes and
Yeah.
put it together.
No, it's really true.
Yeah. Garnett was born on December 3rd, 2008. His birth went well, and he was born healthy without any complications. Lacey flooded her MySpace page with pictures of Garnett within hours of his birth.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's such a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, are welcome to do what.
differently.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think.
Something could be sacred, maybe a little bit more sacred.
Or just take a breeze a little.
Exactly.
On December 5th, they were discharged from the hospital. Garnett was released by the medical staff as a healthy baby with no medical problems. This next part is intense and it's very detailed, and I'm not going to give you every single detail of his medical history for the 5 years of his life. But I do think it's important to see just how much she did to him in the first year. So just a heads up that it's going to be a little
brutal.
bit of we're going to have to get through this to then move on through the rest of the story. So Garnett was released, and then 2 days later, Lacey brought in her 4-day-old into the emergency room, complaining that he was running a high fever and had jaundice. She also said he was pulling at his ears, which I'm not even sure a 4-day-old baby could have the
Physically
reflex to do that.
Yeah,
but I don't
good
know.
point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Garnett was examined by doctors who found nothing wrong with him and sent him home.
Yep.
The day after Christmas, Lacey brought Garnett back to the emergency room saying he was sick again. They could find nothing wrong. And this would begin a pattern of Lacey bringing her infant to either the hospital or doctor's clinic almost daily.
Oh my God.
Which as a mother, I hate taking the kids to the doctor because it's such a cesspool, especially when they're tiny infants.
I was just going to say, isn't that kind of the worst possible place you could take a baby is to the hospital when they're that young and they don't have immune systems.
Right. And December, January, flu season,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But she clearly didn't care. By January 13th, when Garnett was 6 weeks old, his pediatrician wrote in his medical record that he suspected Lacey might suffer from Munchausen syndrome by proxy. He even went so far as reporting her to medical social services.
Wow.
She was interviewed by an investigator once, and a social worker stopped by her apartment a few times, but Lacey was never home. The investigation into child abuse never went any further.
That's crazy. I mean, and I know that the system is so overwhelmed, but just go back a couple more times, guys.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes me think about how often do investigations just stop because they can't find, it just seems kind of crazy. You'd think there would be, I don't know,
there needs to be
a way to actually really follow up with people.
Yeah, there needs to be so many points of contact before an investigation is closed.
Right. A few days later, Lacey brought her baby to a different hospital where he was diagnosed with reflux and had his first surgical procedure. She was telling doctors that the baby couldn't eat, but there didn't seem to be any actual proof of that. We'll talk about more. There were also reports at this time of Lacey's behavior toward Garnett becoming abusive. And remember, he's, 2 months old at this point.
God.
A friend tells a story of her, quote, spanking her infant because he was, quote, acting out at a restaurant.
Oh, my God.
A different friend witnessed Lacey screaming at Garnett in a Walmart parking lot. The friend became so concerned about the baby's safety that she called CPS to report her.
So it's a second report.
Yeah. Yeah. So on February 4th, Garnett underwent a Nissen fundoplication procedure after being diagnosed with failure to thrive and reflux disease by a endocrinologist.
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks. So at 9 weeks old, I'm going to tell you about the procedure. So at 9 weeks old, Garnett was put under general anesthesia. The surgeon then made a small incision in Garnett's stomach. He then wrapped the upper curve of the stomach around the esophagus to form a cup, which was then sewed into place. It functioned as a barrier, preventing food from coming back up through the esophagus. From now on, it would be impossible for Garnett to ever vomit again.
Oh my God. So, I don't know if you know, but did they do any actual, like, studying of the baby? Did they keep an eye on him to make sure that her claims were founded, or they just took her word for it and did this procedure?
I think with this one in particular, she tried to get their doctors to do it, and they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But this doctor decided to. And a lot of what I was reading about, one of the tricky parts with Munchausen's is that doctors are told, pediatricians in particular, are told to trust the mother, that they are usually the ones that know the child the best.
Yep.
And so I think it's really hard to, when you've got an infant, unless you're going to keep them under observation, for multiple days. If a mom's coming in and complaining of terrible reflux and vomiting, and if the baby's not gaining weight, then I guess, this procedure in particular seems really
extreme,
really invasive and extreme, and has lifelong consequences for him. So I don't know what happened to get the doctor to give the go ahead, but
that's a good point to bring up about trusting the mother. Sadie is a doula. She's a trained doula. She worked in midwifery for years and in childbirth education, and so I'm going to just go ahead and speak for her as the expert. But one thing that I know through being sisters with somebody with that level of expertise is that mothers are not listened to. Nobody listens to the mothers. You don't have a lot of agency over your own body or your, what you need and what you need as a mother. And so that's a really tricky and interesting thing to think about. It's like in a country that doesn't actually listen to mothers and doesn't take them seriously, if the overwhelming majority of the time, then you have the one mother, out of a billion mothers who needs to not be listened to. And, like where do you draw that line? Where do you, how do you keep that kid safe? And I think it's just really hard to do so, especially if she's just going to persistently go to different doctors, which I know is the case in a lot of Munchausen's cases. Just go to different doctors until you find one who's like, okay, no problem. I'll reverse this kid's ability to vomit for the rest of his life because you said I should.
Yeah. The other interesting part of all of this is the medical side. They're so worried about litigation,
right?
That they often will err to be more cautious, to do more invasive tests. To, if the mom keeps saying, "This is what we need. This is what we need," they'll do it just in hopes to get the mom to go away, more or less.
Yep.
So, a lot of different things come into play in Garnett's story.
Yep.
So soon after his surgery, he's brought back to the hospital because he would not take his bottles of formula. After doctors are unsuccessful in trying to feed him with a bottle, which Lacey brought from home, they had a nasal feeding tube inserted. Through all of this, after every procedure is complete, Lacey is sure to post photos on MySpace to show off her sick baby.
Yeah.
On February 11th, Lacey is once again back at the hospital because Garnett would not feed from his bottle. A nurse manages to get him to eat from Lacey's bottle that she brought from home, but then he quickly becomes lethargic.
Yeah.
When asked, Lacey said that the bottle contained, quote, improper formula. So blood tests are done and show sodium levels that were critically high. Garnett started having seizures and stopped breathing. He was intubated and had to be airlifted to a larger hospital in Birmingham for emergency treatment. Garnett was so severely dehydrated that he went into shock.
Oh my God. How old was he at this point?
That was February 11th, 3 months old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was put on a spinal tap and treated with IV fluids. He was diagnosed with hypernatremia, which is high levels of sodium in the blood.
Wow.
It took days to stabilize him, but after 2 weeks, staying in the hospital, Garnett was released back into Lacey's care.
Jesus.
The hospital staff had concerns about Lacey and her ability to care for her child, but no steps were taken to protect Garnett.
That's crazy. I mean, how did they think he got so much sodium in his system?
They don't know. At this point, they didn't really look into it a whole lot.
That's nuts. Because that's not something that just shows up, It's not like heart failure or something,
Right.
that can come from a million different places. Like, that's a really specific thing that you can trace back to a very specific place. So, anyway.
In the spring, Garnett suffered continued eating problems. He also started to suffer severe chronic ear infections. The ear infections were so bad that the doctors suspected Lacey had caused the damage. Garnett went through surgery on April 6th to repair large bilateral perforations to both eardrums.
Oh, no.
But despite this treatment, he continued to suffer from terrible ear infections, getting so bad that they would constantly ooze blood and pus.
Ah, God. I mean, again, like bilateral perforations to a baby's ear, that's not just, like the kid needs tubes inserted or something. It's actually perforated.
Right.
Ugh, poor baby.
I know. On June 20th, Garnett was once again in such serious condition. He was airlifted to the Children's Hospital in Birmingham. He was bleeding from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears.
Oh, my God.
I know. I couldn't really find a lot of details on what that was all about, but he recovered. So during every hospital stay and after each surgery, Lacey would take pictures of her child and post them all over her social media pages, which now included Twitter and Facebook. When Garnett was in the care of others, he would thrive, eating and drinking normally.
It's just so sad. I just can't believe nobody intervened.
I know. In August, Lacey decides Garnett should have a feeding tube implanted in his stomach. When doctors at one hospital refused to do the procedure, she would go from hospital to hospital requesting the procedure. She finally found a doctor who would perform the operation, and on September 1st, a feeding tube was inserted into the 10-month-old baby's stomach.
God.
From now on, Lacey would have visible proof that Garnett was suffering from severe medical issues. She would also be able to feed him anything she wanted through a tube that went directly into his stomach.
That's so sad. It's so scary.
It's so scary. Before Garnett turned a year old, he had been admitted to the hospital 23 times.
That's bonkers.
Admitted.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. This pattern of doctor's visits, hospital stays, and social media posts for sympathy would continue. Lacey's lies got more serious and dramatic. She was a member of multiple local churches who she would lie to in order to get money and other charity items to support her, quote, sick child. One church even asked her to leave. The church secretary later told police that Lacey had issues and couldn't be left alone in a room. Quote, she'd lie, cheat, and steal anything not tied down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she was just blatantly stealing on top of covertly stealing.
Yes. Yes. So just before Garnett's second birthday in November 2010, Lacey moved them to Florida to live with her grandmother. She also got Garnett a dachshund puppy named Odie.
Oh.
They were inseparable right away. Although Lacey painted a happy picture online of how much she enjoyed the dog, neighbors complained the dog would be left in the garage in sweltering heat and would cry and howl all day long.
All right, now you've really done it, Lacey. Like, now you've really crossed the line. Poor things. I wonder if that dog, too, it sounds like he probably had an instinctive need to protect the poor little kid. If he was by his side, like glued to his side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Poor sweethearts.
So while in Florida, she started attending multiple moms groups that focused on organic food, vegan diets, and more, quote, natural healing methods.
No.
Yeah, and as Courtney mentioned, I was a doula for many, many, many years, and I think there's a place for all of that.
Yes. It can be taken too far, for sure.
Yes,
I mean, like,
for sure.
Orthorexia, if you've not heard of it. Living in Portland, Sadie and I lived there for about a decade, and you see a lot of cases of people way overdoing exercise and nutrition and health. It just it's an eating disorder. It's just a different sort of eating disorder that's come out of this health craze, the rise of the health craze. And so Combine that with
Well, and-
Munchausen and social media, and you got a real
Right.
sweet stew. I don't know why stew is the first thing people. Yeah,
Gross.
yeah.
Yeah. No, well, especially when parents start putting their super extreme diets on their children.
Right.
It's not healthy for anybody.
Right. Yeah. Babies can be healthy and vegetarian or vegan or whatever. There are ways to do it, but
Yeah.
you got to be real careful, guys. Speaking as a vegetarian of a billion years, got to be really careful.
Yeah. She started bringing Garnett to a doctor of Oriental medicine who had her master's in Chinese herbology. She also met with a holistic health and fitness consultant who devised a vegan, plant-based meal plan for Garnett.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey fed these meals to him through his feeding tube.
Yikes.
One day, Lacey wrote on Facebook, quote, "Oops, just gave Garnett 8 hours of herbs in 20 minutes.
What?
Guess next time I better check his flow rate."
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, herbs will kill you.
Yeah. Yes. Herbs will kill a grown person. I mean, anything will kill anybody you've put in,
Right.
like, yeah.
Straight into his stomach where he cannot vomit.
Oops.
This became Lacey's new persona, and she declares on Facebook that she is done with modern medicine, including antibiotics and vaccinations.
No, people, no.
Yeah. Lacey's family was not happy with this decision, and Garnett's health troubles continued. The Florida Department of Children and Families was contacted multiple times by people concerned for Garnett. An investigation into Lacey was launched. But after interviewing her and her friends and family, they dismissed the charges, telling her to feed him a, quote, normal diet and to schedule an appointment with a pediatrician.
So they followed up and were just like, don't do that anymore. Have a nice day.
Yeah. There, and then in the book, where, like I said, I got a lot of this information, they go into more detail on like all the specifics of what was said and who was interviewed.
Sure.
But she was very good at making herself seem like a perfect mother, and there was lots of toys for Garnett, and she talked a good talk.
Yep.
So it was easy for them to say, okay, well, people just don't understand what it is she's doing. They're judging her for that.
They're being too extreme. She's doing fine. Got it.
Yeah. And her family through all of this is right behind her. I think there was a little bit of tension. She moves in with her grandmother, and there's a little bit of tension when she starts the vegan diet with her grandma for Garnett. But otherwise, none of them can believe that she would actually harm him.
Well, that's the thing about this kind of behavior and sociopathic behavior. It's like when somebody says these things, like, why wouldn't you believe them? You know, you'd be like, oh, this poor baby, this poor mom, her, you know, it's like, the vast majority of people don't make things like this up. They don't make anything up. You know, we're just, as a society, we just don't lie. It's not something you do. And so when people lie to that extreme, of course you have to believe them and stand by them.
I know that, for most moms, just having your kid get sick at all, a cold, puking, like that, it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, so stressful.
So stressful. And the thought of somebody making this up or causing it is really hard to even begin to imagine. And if you know this person and you know her and you like hang out with her, you're not going to go to like, oh, she's probably causing this for her kid.
Absolutely. Especially if it's your family member and you love them and you don't understand. If you haven't had any contact with anybody with a personality disorder, like you just wouldn't know all the red flags to look for.
So once settled into their new home in Florida, Lacey decides that she's ready for another baby.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and would constantly talk about it in her mom's groups. She even picked the name for this new baby. She would call her Garnett.
Okay. Just leave that one alone. Leave that right there.
Eventually, one of her new friends offered her husband up for sex.
What?
To give Garnett a sibling. I mean, that's quite a friend.
I mean, that also just shows the power of Lacey's manipulation. You know, people are easily persuaded, and there's this kind of crazy cult mentality that goes behind certain things. But to be like, you know, I really want you to have this. You can use my husband. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Lacey accepted the offer and began sleeping with the man. But things fell apart when Lacey's friend became jealous.
Well, yeah. Of course they
I know. I don't know where she really thought that was
no.
headed,
And
but-
look, I don't want to. I want to be clear. Like I'm down with all the different kinds of relationships and family styles and scenarios that people have in their own personal lives. You know, you can share your husband if you want to, but you're probably going to get jealous. We're human beings.
Yeah. Lacey did not become pregnant, but this isn't going to be the last time that she tries.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Garnett's third year of life continued similarly as the first two, full of unexplained ear infections, fevers, eating troubles. Lacey started 2 Facebook pages called Garnetts Journey. So two separate ones, but they were called the same.
Yay.
To talk about parenting a chronically ill child. The reason she created 2 separate pages was so that she could have one for family and really close friends and one for people who didn't know her as well.
Got it.
So she would talk a lot about Garnett's dad, Blake, who, according to Lacey, suddenly died in a tragic car accident, but only in posts that her close friends and family could not see.
Of course, because they knew better.
Right. She posted a photo of Blake, and when one of her friends saw the picture, she thought it looked strange, as he was super handsome and looked like a model. So she did the smart thing and Google searched the image and found it was a stock photo on a photo agency's website.
I was just going to say, I picture like a stock photo of a guy in an office or something like.
Right. I have access to it. I'll post it on social
please
media.
do.
I
I
will.
love nothing more than a good stock photo boyfriend.
Yep. Yeah. I know. Courtney and I both love to, like overly. I don't know if we should talk about it. I'm proud of this woman. She was like, "No, I smell a fish here."
Yeah.
Dug in.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to do
I'm not
that, right?
afraid to admit that I'm the top 5% internet stalker in the United States. So is Sadie, maybe slightly less so, but still,
Yeah.
above average, and then our best friends. I mean, who isn't? If you're well, that's not true. My wife doesn't want to have anything to do with internet stalking, but I would say that the majority of women and probably to some degree men, we know what's up. We know how to sniff out some internet information.
I mean, listen, if you have this boyfriend that you talk about every other day and then you stop talking about him, I will hunt it down. I will figure out whether or not you broke up.
Exactly. We're just talking about that. I have a serious preoccupation with the breakups of people that I don't know. And I posted that once on Instagram, and a friend of mine said that she has gone so far as to zoom in on mail on the table, like letters, like bills, to see if the other person's name has been removed, which is...
No.
There you go.
That's
next level. And I
hope she's listening.
Trophy
I applaud
emoji back. That's just, you win. Yeah,
you win. So just like in Alabama, her friends in Florida became suspicious of Lacey's stories and of the cause of all of Garnett's illnesses. Lacey told her friends that she had brain cancer.
Oh my God.
She would tell them that she had miscarriages. She told one friend that she was raped, but didn't want to report it.
Yeah.
And the inconsistencies in her stories of Blake's death were starting to add up as well.
Yep.
While in Florida, Lacey learned about a local Waldorf school that was in Florida, and she became very intrigued by their philosophies.
I bet.
She did some research online and found their Green Meadow Waldorf School in Chestnut Ridge, New York. Lacey learned that in return for working for the fellowship community, which is part of this Waldorf school, she would get free room and board, as well as education for Garnett. And the community sounds like just one of those sort of quote hippie communities where they live together, work together, they have farms, they care for the elderly.
Yep.
Kind of idyllic, really.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Well, that's the thing. Those intentional communities. It sounds super sweet, but then you get somebody. There's usually a sociopath in the mix that, like, has to sour the sweet thing they've got going on, and here comes Lacey to be that person.
Yep. So she applied. The application was full of lies, and she was invited to join the community.
Of course.
Before they left for New York, Garnett's beloved dog, Odie, was found dead in a neighbor's yard. Lacey told some people that the puppy drowned in the bathtub, and she told others that it ate a poisonous frog.
Once again, cross the line, Lacey.
Yeah.
Nobody kills puppies on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Give a moment of silence for Odie.
No.
So on November 4th, 2012, Lacey and Garnett arrived in Chestnut Ridge, New York, which is only 30 miles north of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, everyone fell in love with Garnett. He was full of energy, running around and introducing himself to everyone he met.
Sweetie.
I know, he didn't seem ill at all, and the community was shocked to learn of his medical history.
Poor kid.
No. Lacey continued the same pattern, telling the fellowship community about Garnett's chronic illnesses and about her fiancé that died. 2 days after arriving, she brought Garnett to see the doctor who also lived in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And she told him that the doctor that Garnett had an ear infection. They moved into a large farmhouse that they shared with another member of the group on the fellowship's property and settled into their new routine. The housemate quickly started complaining that Lacey was stealing her belongings, including her clothes and her bedding.
Oh my Jesus.
I know.
It's like on Bad Girls Club where they throw each other's mattresses in the pool. Like you're bedding?
Well, they said that, in the book, she described she went away to visit her family for a few days and came back and walked by Lacey's bedroom, and the door was open, and this roommate's bed, like duvet, was on Lacey's bed.
What a nut job.
Yeah, so she just took it away.
Didn't try to hide it.
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah, so the leaders of the community told the roommate to take pity on Lacey and to let it go.
Yeah.
She also would hear Lacey scream at Garnett through the wall, especially during bath time. And one day she walked by Lacey's bedroom, whose door was open, and she saw her standing over Garnett with a tube sticking out of his ear, and she was doing something to it. I know. Later, the housemaid approached Garnett, who was outside with his head down, kicking dirt. She asked him what was wrong, and Garnett, who was normally incredibly outgoing and cheerful, told her, quote, "I don't feel good. My ear really hurts."
Oh, buddy. It's so sad.
Yeah. And I'll, of course, post a lot of pictures of Garnett on social. Maybe not lots, but a couple.
Yeah.
He just seemed like such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like, so cheerful, bright smile.
I know. So sad. So hard to imagine.
No. On Garnett's 4th birthday, Lacey celebrated on Facebook by listing every hospital where he spent his previous birthdays.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool way to celebrate.
After being in New York for 4 months, Garnett is finally seen by a pediatrician, which seems like an awfully long time for a kid who would have, chronic illnesses, if that were true.
Yep.
He takes a medical history from Lacey, but didn't see any actual medical charts from previous doctors or clinics. Mm-hmm. He referred Garnett to a gastroenterologist to assess his need for a feeding tube, for his feeding tube that he already has. When they went to see the specialist, he told her to get a feeding evaluation to see how many calories he was able to consume orally to decide if the feeding tube was still necessary, but Lacey refused. Despite this, he wrote out a prescription allowing her to obtain an IV pole, and this had a kangaroo pump, which was an internal feeding device with a Mickey button and connector tube set. So there is a picture of Garnett's actual feeding system that I'll post online as well. So basically there's the pump that would pump the food into his feeding tube. So Garnett's G-tube had an opening where you would open it up. You'd have a connector to put in there. You'd connect that to the tube, and that would bring the food into his stomach.
Got it.
This will come up more. The reason you need to know it is because it comes up later.
Sure.
But if you want a visual for exactly what that is, I'll post it on our feeds.
Yep.
So she got the prescription for this device. It included feeding bags and syringes. So Lacey continued to wish for another baby, even going so far as to approach a few couples in the community and ask if she could have sex with the husband of the couple to get pregnant.
God, she's just not trying to not make that place awkward for herself.
Yeah. Continue here with this really strained her relationships in the close-knit fellowship community.
I'll say.
And also, I mean, well, I don't need to get into how she could get pregnant if she wanted to. There's possibilities out there. You don't have to go get in the middle of people's
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's not hard for a female human being to like solicit sex, as far as I've been made aware. My 40 years on Earth, it's just not. It's probably the easiest thing in the world to make happen. You don't have to steal duvets and ask to borrow husbands in your small, close-knit, intentional community.
Yeah. So in the spring of 2013, Lacey made the first of several claims about being sexually harassed by men at the fellowship.
Yeah.
Police were called in after she reported a man had twice exposed himself to her. The man vehemently denied the allegation and was told to avoid Lacey. No further action was taken. In September, Garnett started kindergarten at the Green Meadow Waldorf School. And from the beginning, he really loved it. He got along well with his classmates and participated happily in all activities. His teacher said, quote, "He was great. He was sharp, attentive, and very happy to be in school. There were no problems at all." He was known for his boundless energy.
Buddy.
Lacey's story on social media in particular was really different than the teacher's. You know, according to the teacher, he would be there first thing, greet all of his classmates as they came in. But Lacey would tell people on Facebook that he didn't want to leave her side and he would cry. And it was really, the separation between the two was really, really hard. You know, so just again, like more examples of her creating stories to elicit sympathy from her internet people. So December 3rd, 2013 marked Garnett's 5th birthday. Lacey celebrated on Facebook by posting 14 random facts about her pregnancy with Garnett.
Jesus.
Soon after his birthday, the pair flew to Florida to spend holidays with the family. While there, Lacey sent alarming emails to friends back at the fellowship in New York that Garnett was gravely ill and in the PICU, the pediatric intensive care unit. This caused the community much worry, and they were relieved when a few days later she sent follow-up emails that he had recovered and was out of the hospital. When asked about the hospital stay, Rebecca, who's Lacey's older sister, said that there was no illnesses or hospital trips during that visit. Garnett was fine. So on Tuesday, January 7th, Garnett returned to school and seemed fine. His teacher said, quote, "He was the usual Garnett. He was very happy to be back, very happy to play, happy to do what everyone was doing, and eating well." Lacey kept him home from school that Friday, saying that he had a fever and the stomach flu. It is now investigators believe that Lacey began laying the groundwork for what she was planning to do to her son. Garnett was getting too old to control, and they theorized that Lacey began to fear he would start telling people about the things she was doing to him. She brought Garnett to the doctor, but he could find nothing wrong. He seemed perfectly healthy. Lacey sent emails to his teacher through the weekend saying that he was still very sick with the stomach flu. But meanwhile, she was posting pictures of a happy, healthy Garnett on Facebook.
Wild.
Over the weekend, she made multiple Google searches for things like, quote, normal sodium levels for a child, dangers of high sodium levels in a child, and ratio of sodium to blood.
No.
So Lacey took Garnett to the pediatrician and hospital a few times during this period, claiming that Garnett had a high fever, which he didn't, and that he was having seizures. The test results all came back normal, but the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with the boy. And from here, the rest of the story really ramps up super quickly and gets really crazy. But this is where we're going to end part 1. I know. I'm really sorry, you guys. I promise it's going to be worth coming back for. And we will do our best to get it out sooner than a week if we can.
For sure. For sure. And also I'll try to work on a little bit of bonus content if I can. No promises, but we'll see what we can do.
Is it you like singing the national anthem or something? The booster.
Well, I was gonna let that be a cliffhanger so people could
sorry.
but
I gave away all your secrets.
tune in to an ill-conceived, out of tune version of the national anthem. Yours truly, the most patriotic person on the planet. I am actually. I love our country.
Absolutely.
Maybe not the people in charge at the moment.
Hey,
but this place rules.
I don't know why I was suddenly standing up for this administration that I can't stand, but we're not going to.
Plot twist, Sadie's a Trump supporter. Nope.
Yeah, I guess if people don't already know that about me, then they don't know me.
Yeah, I know. We just lost like all of our followers. Would have been plot twist. All of our followers are Trump supporters.
Could be. I don't know.
I don't know. Wow. Well, I mean, phenomenal job. And
Thanks.
Short of reading a 400-page book verbatim, you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Let's all say some prayers for babies suffering from their mother's Munchausen's by proxy right now, because it is a truly, truly tragic and awful disease.
That's right. Yeah, see something, say something.
Yes, once again, if there's it might be an awkward situation when you find out that the baby is actually legitimately chronically ill, but if you have any suspicion that maybe they're not, go ahead and act on that suspicion, because you could save a life and save a lot of suffering.
Yep.
So, in the meantime, while we cook up the second half of the story, you can follow us on social media at They Will Kill on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Our website is theywillkill.com, and you can email us at theywillkillpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on all sorts of lovely podcast, whatever they're called. Platforms, yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you, as always, to AJ Bergantz for our beautiful music. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you.
So much. And remember...
wash those fucking hands, guys.
Yeah,
Wash them.
don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk to yourself and your neighbors. Clean your phone. That's a good thing to remember. Disinfect your phone as often as you can. Drink lots of water. This isn't a tip that I've seen is widely circulated, but there are reports that drinking water pushes the virus
I
into
heard
your
that's total bullshit.
Stomach. Oh,
100% bullshit. No.
Well,
no,
go ahead and drink water
listen to that.
anyway. Okay, drink water anyway because it's really good to stay
Yeah, it's
hydrated
good for
and
you.
flush your system. Okay, that's good to know. I kind of had a feeling that one was a
that's not
bogus
how
tip.
viruses work.
Thoughts.
But no, yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and keep drinking that water. Wash your hands. Practice social distancing. Stay home if you can.
That's
and
right. Be kind.
Be kind. Keep your cortisol levels down because we will get through this. And stress is the biggest killer. So,
You know what helps with stress?
podcasts.
Murder podcasts about very stressful topics. But if you're weirdos like us, it really kind of calms me down in a lot of very strange ways. So
yeah, escapism is still America's favorite pastime. So we're here to provide it, and we love you very much. And
very much.
We'll talk to you next week or sooner. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully sooner. We really are going to try. Hold us to that promise.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.